You are welcome here, no matter your background, ethnicity, or orientation. You are welcome here if you seek or if you rest in what you have found. You're welcome here if you have been many times or if this is your first time. You are welcome. We are a welcoming community, and we welcome you and each other. Our announcements were on a slideshow before the service. If you didn't see them, don't worry. Lou will post them tomorrow in his sharing. And so I want to welcome you with Live at Fellowship Hall. That's our LCUUF Sunday service.
Good morning. Buenos dias. I'm Pamela Cucinell. Our opening words this morning are from Ralph Waldo Emerson. A quote from UU World. Emerson and the Transcendentalists are probably more relevant now than they were in their time, said the Reverend Suzanne Meyer, Associate Minister of the Unitarian Universalist Congregation of Atlanta. They speak out of our UU tradition to a postmodern mindset that is tired of scientism and reductionism, just as they were reacting against the Enlightenment rationalism of their day. They offer us a naturalist spirituality, a naturalist mysticism, without metaphysics and supernaturalism. She has found, for example, that Emerson speaks to young adults who want to awaken a reverence for nature. Another young man, Henry Thoreau, once said that Emerson's influence upon young persons is greater than any man's. I think Emerson is appealing today because UUs want an authentic Unitarianism, said Meyer, who teaches adult religious education courses on his work. We're tired of borrowing from traditions. We've tried everything else. Now we want an authentic Unitarian Universalist spirituality, one embedded in our own history as a movement. When you research Emerson, you will come across many stories like the scrub woman who is reported to have said that she didn't really understand him, but I like to go and see him stand there and look as though he thought everyone else was as good as he is. And now, words from Ralph Waldo Emerson. But if a man would be alone, let him look at the stars. The rays that come from those heavenly worlds will separate between him, oh my goodness, will separate, you can tell I was one of those kids who read a lot of Thoreau, who will separate between him and what he touches. One might think the atmosphere was made transparent with this design to give man in the heavenly bodies the perpetual presence of the sublime. If the stars should appear one night in 1,000 years, how would men believe and adore and preserve for many generations the remembrance of the city of God which had been shown? But every night come out these envoys of beauty and light the universe with their admonishing smile. The stars awaken a certain reverence because though always present, they are inaccessible. But all natural objects make a kindred impression when the mind is open to their influence.
Our chalice lighting words today are by Cynthia Landrum. all the lights of the heavens, for the wonder and inspiration we seek from sun and stars, and all the lights of the heaven we light this chalice. So please light your chalice.
We kindle this light in celebration for the life that we share. We kindle.
Our opening hymn is I Know This Rose Will Open, performed by the UU Phoenix Video Choir. Please join us in singing. Each week we take time to remind ourselves that we belong to a community which cares for each other. We do this by sharing any significant or sorrows in our lives. If you have a joy or sorrow to share today, you can type it into the chat box and we'll read those aloud. First, let us voice our sorrows or concerns, whatever you or the world may be holding that is in need of our healing and caring thoughts. You're welcome to type sorrows and concerns into the chat box now.
Edie, we have three concerns. The first comes from Liz Mulder, and this is a candle of concern for Janice Kimball's ongoing health problems. The next concern also comes from Liz, and it is a concern for the almost daily reports of mass shootings in the US and for the ongoing gang violence in Canada. And the final candle of concern is from me. This is Trudy, I would like to light a candle of concern and silence. And I don't see any other concerns.
Whatever you may be celebrating, whatever evokes a feeling of joy or peace for yourself or others, you're welcome to type joys in the chat box.
Okay, Dee Dee, I have several joys, which always feels good. First from Kathy Coaches. Kathy got to see Bonnie Phillips. Well, Kathy was up north, and Bonnie says hi to everyone. She and Bill are doing well. Our next joy comes from Kate Howe. Kate says that they have changed cardiologists, and the new doctor has taken Frank off of several of the meds that he went on after surgery in January. Frank's energy is coming back stronger, and he has more stamina now. And the final joy I see is especially appropriate for Father's Day. Roy says that David and Roy wish their daughter Darby a happy 26th birthday yesterday. And I would say that Darby is a very lucky young woman to have two such wonderful fathers. And I do not see any others.
Anyone in the room have a joy? Welcome, Susie. Welcome. And this candle from our care team represents those sorrows that are too raw, too difficult for us to share aloud. So many of us have had losses, partners, children, grandchildren, losses that remain present with us every day. So many. So many of us have burdens, anger, fear, and frustration. All of those things that weigh heavy on our hearts. We will light this candle for all those unspoken sorrows.
The summer solstice happens when the sun enters 0 degrees Cancer at 10:32 p.m. Chipala time this evening, signaling the longest day in the northern hemisphere. Solstice means sun stopping because the point where the sun appears to rise and set stops and reverses direction after this day. This is appropriate because today's presentation asks that you pause and consider a perspective that may be alien to you. As I guide this meditation, I invite you to adjust your seat so that you face the direction of the sun. If to do so would have the sun in your eyes, simply move to a comfortable position. Settle into a sense that there is nothing for you to do, think, or ponder at this moment other than to listen to my voice and the sound of your breath. You can close your eyes and picture the sun bright in the sky, or gaze ahead without focus. As you concentrate on your breath, it doesn't matter if I say breathe out when you breathe in, or breathe in when you breathe out. All that matters is to note the wonder of your breath. You might want to picture that sun in the sky over gentle waves. And when you breathe in, the waves recede back to the womb of the ocean. When you breathe out, the waves embrace the sandy beach. The visuals in your head are not important. All that matters is the rhythm of your breath and the release of any thoughts other than the gentle motion with your breath. To cleanse the breath, start with a deep breath in. Only go to a depth of comfort. Let it go down to the point of your diaphragm that's comfortable to you. Then gently breathe out through your mouth as though blowing a kiss. Another breath in through your nose. Release any tension in your shoulders as you gently blow the breath through your mouth. Now let your breath settle into a nice rhythm. As you breathe in, be aware of your feet firmly on the ground. As you breathe out, imagine rods of light connected to the earth. Relax into this moment. You alone can give yourself peace. You are grounded. You are secure. As you breathe in, take in the light of this day of the year, no matter how cloudy or dark it may be where you are. The sun shines on the earth. As you breathe out, picture how the essence of your shining, unique self lights up the world around you. Breathe in the healing light and breathe out the light you alone shine. Now picture that sandy beach as a smooth place on the shore for you to land. And with the next breath out, open your eyes and radiate your unique, beautiful inner sunlight. And now open your eyes.
Today's readings are from the philosopher, astronomer, and mathematician Galileo, the founder of analytic psychology Carl Jung, and comparative religion and comparative mythology writer Joseph Campbell. These words from Galileo Galilei. Long experience has taught me this about the status of mankind with regard to matters requiring thought. The less people know and understand about them, the more positively they attempt to argue concerning them, while on the other hand, to know and understand a multitude of things renders men cautious in passing judgment upon anything new. Carl Jung tells us, at the moment I'm looking into astrology, which seems indispensable for a proper understanding of mythology. There are strange and wondrous things in these lands of darkness. Please, don't worry about my wanderings in these infinitudes. I shall return laden with rich booty for our knowledge of the human psyche. Joseph Campbell writes this, mythology is not a lie. Mythology is poetry. It is metaphorical. It has been well said that mythology is the penultimate truth. Penultimate because the ultimate cannot be put into words. It is beyond words, beyond images, beyond that bounding rim of the Buddhist wheel of becoming. Mythology pitches the mind beyond that rim to what can be known but not told. Heaven and hell are within us, and all the gods are within us. This is the great realization of the Upanishads of India in the 9th century BC. All the gods, all the heavens, all the world are within us. They are magnified dreams, and dreams are manifestations in image form of the energies of the body in conflict with each other. That is what myth is. Myth is a manifestation in symbolic images, in metaphorical images, of the energies of the organs of the body in conflict with each other. This organ wants this, and that organ wants that. To become, in Jung's terms, individuated, to live as a released individual, one has to know how and when to put on and to put off the masks of one's various life roles. When in Rome, do as the Romans do. And when at home, do not keep on the mask of the role you play in the Senate chamber. But this, finally, is not easy, since some of the masks cut deep. They include judgment and moral values. They include one's pride, ambition, and achievement. They include one's infatuations. It is a common thing to be overly impressed by and attached to masks, either some masks as one's own or the mana masks of others. The work of individuation, however, demands that one should not be compulsively affected in this way. The aim of individuation requires that one should find and then learn to live out of one's own center, in control of one's for and against. And this cannot be achieved by enacting and responding to any general masquerade of fixed roles.
Much as I love this song, in astrology, the moon is in the 7th house for roughly 2 hours every day, and Jupiter aligns with Mars every couple of years. So the astrology of that great song is not significant to the dawning of the age of Aquarius. More about that to come. When a new acquaintance hears that I'm a professional astrologer, some are interested, some are polite, and others feel a need to dismiss. I don't believe in astrology. So let's begin there. Astrology is not a belief. A person doesn't believe in meditation, yet it is a practice that can be a spiritual tool, or it can simply reduce stress. Astrology is a tool that I use for insight, grounding, and the navigation of life. For me, it is also a spiritual practice. I mark the passages of the moon, follow eclipses, pay attention to the turns of the great wheel, equinoxes and solstices. Today is the summer solstice for the northern hemisphere. Geometric pictures of the earth with the sun and moon have long been celebrated for spiritual ceremony and practice. So my profession is an exercise of this spiritual practice. I am sure that other professions can align with a person's spiritual expression. Astrology is a time-worn method of studying Earth's relationship within its solar system. Star maps existed long before geological maps. A star map cannot be cut up with territorial boundaries. A common thread in every ancient society is that human beings looked to the sky for guidance and understanding. They observed how events in the sky mirrored events on Earth. These observations informed oral traditions, storytellers, and myth weavers. The the celestial bodies that moved in the sky, were seen as deities or entities. Those ancient myths are still part of our human story, as Carl Jung defined archetypes and Joseph Campbell explained the hero's journey. Indigenous and ancient cultures saw the cosmos not as separate from humans, but recognized that we are embedded and a part of the living, active community of the universe. The moon's phases predictably guided the hunt. Moon phases offered planting wisdom, still used in today's Farmer's Almanac, a favorite of organic gardeners. I've no doubt the Mexican farmers track the sky to know when to plant the root vegetables as opposed to the above ground. The Babylonians created the Zodiac wheel 700 years before the birth of Christ. And that bright star that guided the Magi, who were astrologers, is thought to have been a Jupiter-Saturn conjunction, not unlike the one we had this past winter solstice. Every heavenly body or point is filled with symbolic meaning to those who practice astrology. This symbolic language has been refined over thousands of years of observation and harmony with the ancient maxim, as above, so below. The Greeks gathered astrological lore from the Fertile Crescent, India, and Egypt. They laid the foundation for astrology's evolution through mathematics, philosophy, and medicine. The temples of Apollo, the god of truth, prophecy, healing, poetry, and logos, were inscribed with the essence of consciousness. Know thyself. Scientific study, whether physics, medicine, or geology, valued its metaphysical side. There was no chauvinistic attitude that the material had greater importance than the spiritual. In early Catholicism, popes valued astrology, and it was seen as God's messages. When Copernicus proposed the Earth was not the center of the solar system, astrology did not change orientation because a human perspective was geocentric. The Vatican owns a priceless library of ancient astrological works, regardless of the fact that with the rise of the Inquisition, the very lives of those who practiced astrology were threatened. The church wanted the earth to be the center. The idea that an astronomer would determine a different center and then decipher heavenly symbols was extremely threatening to the church's power. Until that point in time, astronomers studied and used astrology as a prophetic and spiritual tool in tandem with their scientific research and theories. But Galileo had to renounce his certainty that the sun was the center of the solar system, along with astrology concepts, in order to avoid death. The Protestant movement had no love of astrology. But the nail in the coffin occurred with the Age of Enlightenment. That's when astrology really went underground. Shared astrological ideas and books were quite contraband. A lot of knowledge was buried. To quote the cultural historian Thomas Berry, "The universe is a communion of subjects, not a collection of objects. The devastation of the planet can be seen as a direct consequence of the loss of this capacity for human presence to and reciprocity with the non-human world. This reached its most decisive moment in the 17th century proposal of René Descartes that the universe is composed simply of mind and mechanism. In this single stroke, he devitalized the planet and all its living creatures, with the exception of the human. Descartes, Thomas says, desouled the earth with his division of reality between mind and extension. Now, for a contemporary astrological view about spiritual consciousness evolution into history. Bear with me, I'm just going to get to my script as well, because I like to look at people. Okay, the planet Uranus has been winking at humans for hundreds of years, but those who saw it determined it to be a far-off star. It wasn't until the telescope that Herschel discovered what he thought to be a comet in 1781. In modern astrology, a new discovery in the heavens reveals an opportunity for greater consciousness evolution. Since everything celestial known beforehand could be seen with the human eye, Uranus is considered the Great Awakener. It is the planet of revolution, change, freedom, and technology, to name a few of its themes. The telescope and discovery of Uranus stood on the threshold of the results of the Industrial, French, and American revolutions, a time when the world changed. In 1846, Neptune was spotted. The god of the seas is the planet that symbolizes that we all swim in the same cosmic soup. The universal unconscious in love as the ultimate healer. Not surprisingly, Neptune is often strong in the horoscope of musicians and artists. The discovery of Neptune dovetailed with awakened interest in spirituality and mysticism, which eventually inspired Carl Jung to use astrology in analysis. He recognized, as above, so below, as part of his theory of synchronicity. Astrology uses ancient physics, earth, air, fire, and water, which informed Jung's 4 functions. In time, Myers-Briggs incorporated them into their personality types. Jung finished his amazing manuscript, The Red Book, in 1930, the same year Pluto was discovered. Pluto, the god of death to the Romans, symbolizes irrevocable transformation. Of course, Pluto's discovery was at the struggles from the Great Depression, buildup of World War II, nuclear power, and mainstreaming psychoanalysis. Jung's The Red Book was kept hidden by his family until 2009 because his heirs had determined the public would misunderstand and it would tarnish his legacy. At the time of his death in the 1960s, astrology had become so popular that its value was trivialized. At the turn of this millennium, ancient texts of astrology from Hebrew, Hindi, Aramaic, ancient Greek, and more were being translated and still are. Astronomers keep finding new heavenly bodies, Eris, Sedna, Haumea, to name a few. Pluto was demoted, while the asteroid Ceres was promoted, both to dwarf planet status. To shorthand this symbolism, the cosmos brings to awareness the rise of the feminine, that's Ceres, our relationship to the earth and gender equality in the 21st century. So Ceres, the feminine, the earth, with Pluto, irrevocable transformation or death, on the same line. Computers have allowed astrologers to research and catalog data with great precision. Astrology is not a New Age art, but computers have exploded our understanding, as has the wealth of knowledge revealed from these historic texts. In today's world, traditional religions are losing believers. Yet, to paraphrase Jung, humans seek the numinous. Young people are drawn to astrology, and the internet has many excellent sites and schools where it thrives. And yes, you can find a lot of astrology for pure entertainment. In spite of its entertainment value, once a person commits to a deep dive into astrological study, change and growth can follow. Astrology is an art and a practice. It requires study, research, and soul searching to know thyself. Now to personalize this discussion. I didn't know it at the time, but when my natal horoscope, my point of entry in Earth flattened to a two-dimensional wheel, was juxtaposed with the planets in the sky in the mid-'80s, I began my Pluto journey into the underworld. This dovetailed with the end of my first marriage. Many of the people, places, and activities that were routine during that marriage no longer were available to me because it was painful, inappropriate, or simply didn't fit anymore. Divorce can feel like a death, and mine was, as I struggled to find out who I was outside of that union. I sought answers on how to be. This led to grief, confusion, and reckoning. I needed to find ways to cope. Drinking half a bottle of vodka was not a good daily life routine. Therapy got me out of my black hole. Yoga got me grounded. Reiki energy healing allowed the tears to flow. And Al-Anon got me curious about God as we understand Him. I left the group after the night I led it when I realized I did not feel the allegiance one member expressed about his comfort with belonging to a fraternity of victims. I could not identify as a victim. Temporarily, yes, but it was not a label I wanted to own. I was curious why I seemed to be the only or one of the few members of the group who was okay with the possibility of a power greater than I. Although I'd left the church as a teenager, I craved spiritual practice. I studied tarot at a friend's suggestion since it could be used as a visual catalyst for meditation. This led me into numerology and the sacred logic in numbers. Finally, I landed into astrology studies. Most people know their sun sign, which changes every 30 days, and I'm an Aquarius. I'm supposed to be a free spirit, eccentric, and a bit of an alien in the family. Well, that part was true. But I didn't enjoy the lack of inhibition that seemed to be part of the mythology of the sign. The sun sign indicates ideally how we shine. I quickly discovered that the moon sign, which changes every 2.5 days, indicates one's emotional orientation. For me, this is Scorpio, a very different energy than Aquarius. Both parts of my psyche need to be heard and understood. Otherwise, they crop up when least expected. Jung called that a complex. And that was just two of the characters at the round table of my horoscope, the symbolic picture of the voices in my head. Every planet has a symbolic energy, Venus, Mars, Saturn, and when I comprehend what it's trying to show me, it widens my ability to know more. So when I work with a horoscope, the map of where the planets, sun and moon, were in the sky in relation to a birth, or a business, or a country, the geometric configurations are unique to that individual and can tell an ongoing story. Because at any point in time, that birth horoscope can be juxtaposed with what's presently in the sky that shows what's calling for engagement. This provides awareness. Life doesn't just happen to me or any of us. I'm actively engaged in the relationship with life, and I can choose how to work with that experience. I know that not every person on the planet has my level of freedom. This increases my responsibility to maximize self-awareness. I may not be in control of the outcome, but I can control my reactions to it. I did the horoscopes of my family members to better comprehend our dynamics and began to see why my siblings and I had such different relationships with our parents. The planet Saturn, the ancients thought was the limit of the solar systems, and astrologers label it the great taskmaster. We can rebel against what we should do, but unless we give ourselves goal, nothing in life gets done. The position of Saturn in my horoscope indicates that I experience challenges and difficulties with authority and father. Yes, there's a psychological piece to all of this, but it's more than that. I did work for a couple of years with a Jungian analyst whom, at our first meeting, I stated, I need you to be Saturn. He said he could do that for me, and he did. He mirrored my evolution from the punitive, restrictive Saturn to the disciplined architect of my personal destiny. It was through my work with an analyst who understood my astrology language that I was able to find the words and the ability to bridge my relationship with my father. Un momento. I learned to change my perception of him and was able to meet this challenge. Ay, 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 ay. Before my father slipped into full-blown dementia, and for that, I am forever grateful. We astrologers do believe that timing is everything, and it's not lost to me that today's Father's Day. As my studies deepened, I could see the interrelational contracts made between souls, whether easy or challenging. Although astrology is not a belief, it is a spiritual tool. And because of this, I do not know of an astrologer who does not believe in the evolution of souls and reincarnation. They might be out there, I just don't know them. We use astrology as a tool to support and deepen our understanding of these beliefs. That being said, astrologers don't necessarily come to the same conclusions as we interpret, and for many of us, these interpretations are theoretical because how can we know the absolute? Astrology awakens curiosity. It does not declare certainty. It allows one to seek, find humor, and elusive logic, and now and again an answer, which leads to more curiosity. From a scientific perspective, energy conservation still holds that energy can neither be created nor destroyed. Somehow, a life force gets transmuted. I believe that I am part of this whole cosmos, not an insignificant speck of dust, but I also know that I forget this at times in my human existence. When we value the significance of compassion and this time we have on earth, it becomes part of that whole. When a life is devalued, and that also affects the cosmos. Each moment, has a cosmic intention, and we are all part of how that evolves. The universe is far too beautiful to be random. Astrology helps me remember the big picture. In 2009, the Rubin Museum in New York City showcased the first public presentation of Carl Jung's The Red Book. I went with my brother and 12-year-old daughter, and it was, for me, a sacred experience. They had gorgeous prints of his work and his handwritten thoughts. It didn't matter that I can't read German. I could see in his art and his hand the man, the spirit. Archetypal powers can be destructive as well as creative, which is why I was so motivated to become conscious of how they operate within my psyche. Astrology provides a tool to increase compassion because as I gain awareness of my personal snares and challenges, I recognize the commonality within another, even when that's uncomfortable to do. We are all born under the same sky, but that celestial blueprint must be deciphered within a host of variables. Each individual is unique, as is their journey. We are in the age of Aquarius as we slough off the age of Pisces. The great ages run roughly a couple of thousand years, so we're still in infancy. To shorthand the age of Pisces, it was the age of faith and reason. And the age of Aquarius, the individual and the cosmos. Once again, mine is a metaphysical art. This is theory. But we do recognize that the world is changing, and each one of us can dream, contribute, and allow the changes to take shape. Understanding the symbols of astrology continues to help me know myself, even when I don't want to look at some part of me. The great astrologer Dane Rudhyar said, "When you don't follow your nature, there's a hole in the universe where you're supposed to be." Modern alienation from nature and the objectification of the cosmos creates a fragmented world. Human beings are part of the cosmos, not just observers. What we do has a direct effect on evolution, whether we own that or not.
This is the time in our service when we ask that you remember that we share our gifts here through pledging and donations. Instructions for payments to the fellowship were on a slide during the announcements before the service every week. And while you're considering your gift to the fellowship, remember that each month LCUUF donates 5,000 pesos or more to an organization providing food aid in our Lakeside community. For the month of June, we've been supporting Food Bank Lakeside. When you pay your pledge, please add something to share the basket, as you used to place pesos in our physical basket. You can donate in the same way that you pay your pledge, but please donate Share the Basket separately, or indicate what part of your donation is for Share the Basket. Your offerings are greatly received. Let us extinguish our chalices with these words, which we read together. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These
Our closing words are from Joseph Campbell. Myth basically serves 4 functions. The first is the mythical function, realizing what a wonder the universe is and what a wonder you are, and experiencing awe before this mystery. The second is a cosmological dimension, the dimension with which science is concerned, showing you what shape the universe is, but showing it in such a way that the mystery again comes through. The third function is the sociological one, supporting and validating a certain social order. It is the sociological function of myth that has been taking over our world, and it is out of date. But then there is a fourth function of myth, and this is the one that I think everyone must try today to relate to. And that is the pedagogical function of how to live a human lifetime under any circumstances. Myth is much more important and true than history. History is just journalism, and you know how reliable that is.